30 years ago, there was very few public policy think tanks like the Pacific Research Institute.
Keep in mind that when PRI was founded 30 years ago, the idea of free markets and market-based thinking, property rights, was still quite controversial.
It was a small publishing house with a small staff of 5 people. There was a tremendous opportunity to get our message out to a much wider audience.
For 30 years, PRI has been the leading voice for individual liberty, personal responsibility, and free market solutions in California's policy debate.
Well, 30 years ago, the liberal vision of expanding the role of government was very much in vogue. It was the Keynesian idea.
The dominant idea in the environment is that we were running out of resources, especially fossil fuels.
Profit was a bad word.
Basically, all schools had no common measure of performance.
What we've done at PRI is promote the idea that property rights and markets and other non-regulatory solutions offer a better way of protecting the environment than more and more bureaucracy in Washington, more and more laws and lawsuits and so forth.
There's been this great evolution in favor of free market ideas.
What PRI can do is help people understand that there is an alternative vision of reform that relies on individual choice and not government power.
The policy scholars of the Pacific Research Institute provide a well-reasoned, independent perspective to help the American public understand the implications of the complex socioeconomic questions of today and tomorrow.
My job at PRI is to bring unconventional thinking to a field that has been dominated by drearily conventional wisdom.
It's so important that we keep the principles of free markets and individual choice alive.
That's what PRI does so well, is it promotes and disseminates alternative viewpoints, alternative ways of thinking about policy.
Pacific Research Institute has really taken off in terms of its impact in the mainstream media. We have really had a lot of bang for our buck.
As a result of the research that we did at the Pacific Research Institute, we've seen workers' compensation premiums fall about 65% in the state, which has been about a $55 billion savings to businesses.
There's a whole host of areas where PRI is showing leadership on an ongoing basis. We have an impact at the national level as well as at the state level, and indeed on many issues even at the local level.
Well, after Hurricane Katrina, the public school system in New Orleans was devastated physically, just like much of the rest of the city was. And one of the things that they wanted to do was to look at successful school models that would produce higher achieving students. And they used our book as a model in the rebuilding of the New Orleans public school system, and especially the charter schools.
Every month, PRI's research is the foundation for hundreds of mainstream public policy articles. And in the last 2 years, nearly 1,000 op-eds written by PRI policy scholars have appeared in print across the country. And that's just the beginning. As PRI expands its reach and influence through the use of cutting-edge media such as social networking, blogs, and film, we're reaching an entirely new generation of American decision-makers. So what can you expect from PRI in the next 30 years?
Well, what I hope is that 30 years from now, people will think it's inconceivable that the government can control your healthcare dollars, or that your employer controls your healthcare dollars.
Lower taxes, lower regulation, more individual freedom, more entrepreneurship as a result.
We can regain as a state our leadership role economically, reinvigorate the economy.
In 30 years, it will be inconceivable to the young people of that time that we ever had severe air pollution in American cities, because there'll be virtually none of it.
In 30 years, I think it's going to be inconceivable for people to look back and think that, you mean those people back then never had a choice about where to send their child to school?
And those are the kinds of things that we work for here at Pacific Research Institute. And 30 years from now, we're going to see a whole lot more of that.
Together, with its alliance of dedicated supporters, the Pacific Research Institute is committed to leading the way toward a more free and prosperous future for all.